What's up, grinders? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing a review of an article that came out about Duolingo. Here it is. You can see it on your screen. Duolingo will replace contract workers with AI. The company is going to be AI first, says its CEO. I am so sick of hearing this AI first approach. This is basically all the rage in all the big companies. I know it's even in the companies that I've worked for. So basically, if we have a look at what it says right here, you can see this email was sent out to basically all the employees of Duolingo. And in summary, what it says is that if we can use AI, we will use AI to do it. Now, let's have a look at what it says right here. AI is just a productivity boost. They talk about a productivity boost, but listen to what they've got to say. It helps us get closer to our mission. To teach well, we need to create a massive amount of content, and doing that manually doesn't scale. One of the best decisions we made recently was replacing a slow manual content creation process with one powered by AI. With AI, it would take us decades to scale our content to more learners. We owe it to our learners to get them this content ASAP. Now, what they don't talk about owing to their learners right here, which is something they totally should be talking about, is not just getting a mass amount of shit content to your learners, but also getting good quality content to your learners. See, back in the day, I was a big fan of Duolingo. Now, not because I enjoyed the process by which they taught languages or anything like that, but because I actually thought they had a very good model for how they built courses. See, what they used to do is they had a volunteer army that would submit to create a language, and then once enough interest was generated around that language, Duolingo would open up their course apparatus to volunteers. The volunteers would form themselves into teams, they would set up a hierarchy, content, and then they would start building with actual native speakers. In most cases, these were people who were the best of the best in their field, and they were generating content for free for Duolingo because, well, there was generally not many language courses out there that didn't focus on the GigaChad languages like English, French, these big ones. And finally, there was a way for people to generate courses in a team-like manner for minority languages. Now, this allowed Duolingo to blow up. Before this, Duolingo was just another language learning app trying to cater to, the big boys out there. And what it effectively did is it took the enthusiasm of all these people from minority language backgrounds and stuff, got them to work together to generate courses, and then they promoted it. Now, the thing is, the people who generally go out and learn these minority languages, they've learned a lot of languages. So they don't just promote it to their own language community, they start promoting it to adjacent language communities, and this is how Duolingo spread in a lot of ways. And this was a great model because not only did it help Duolingo spread, it also helped Duolingo generate content for languages that were generally neglected, and not just content, but really good high quality content, because these people were in there basically giving their heart and soul to it, not for financial gain because there was no money to be made, but because they wanted to promote their languages and to help people learn them. Now, then what happened is, 10 plus years ago, Duolingo decided to go public, and as part of that process, either before or after, I don't remember the details, they cut off all the volunteer teachers, and they basically just, stopped access to all these courses, and then they said that they would bring it in-house. And they basically bought out all the volunteers' efforts, the rights to them through, the tiniest of little fees, and people basically agreed because they didn't want to lose these courses, because they didn't care about the money, they cared about the courses and giving content to their learners, to people who potentially learn their languages. Now, the problem is, they started then going, okay, well, let's start using AI and start, testing here and there. And then this started to bring issues in. Now, the problem with AI is, especially when you get to languages that don't have a lot of content out there, is that there's not enough content to train AI models to generate good content for that language. Now, maybe you can get away with this with English and French and these bigger languages because the mistakes are less frequent and less noticeable. But you go down to smaller languages, let's say Esperanto, because this is a language that I've worked with. But I know this is very true for any language that's only got, a couple of million speakers, or even languages that have got many more speakers but less content online, is that the content that basically the AI generates looks like the language, but it isn't the language. It's riddled with errors. It makes up words from, adjacent languages or even straight from English and makes them look like the language itself. And then you think you've got something good, but you don't. What you've got is call it what it is, a bastardization of the actual language. So when they talk about, generating in mass, creating more content for learners, what you're doing is creating more shit for learners. You're not actually creating good quality content. Now, what are you going to do? You're going to hire a native to go through and check all that? Well, the amount of effort they would probably need to go through and check it all and then fix it all is probably equivalent of them just generating it themselves in the first place. Now, a secondary thing is Duolingo used to use actual native voices in a lot of places, but instead, of course, they want to generate mass content. They started using basically AI voices here and there. And at this stage, what is Duolingo compared to every other app out there? They're just your standard language learning app that's trying to utilize AI to teach you languages through, bad content, basically, using AI voices. There's nothing special about it anymore, and I wouldn't recommend it among anything else. The only reason they can get away with it now is because they dominate the market. They have the money. They're a multi-billion-dollar company. Their CEO's net worth is I don't know, $2 billion the last I saw, or something like that. It's an insane amount of money they have behind them. And this also jumps to the next question. Why are you doing this? You don't even need to spend money, really. You could bring back the volunteers. I'm sure there's a way to legally do it where they would work for free, basically. Now, if there's not a legal way in America, then just pay them the bare minimum. They would be happy with that. And you would get people that would normally, work for really high amounts of money happily to take a bare minimum pay just to maintain these courses so that they know there's good content out there. But instead you want to mass generate it through AI. This method, or whatever they're trying to achieve right now, they're talking about how they're trying to get ahead of the bandwagon. That's basically what they're saying here. We don't want to be behind the bandwagon. What realistically you're doing is just destroying your reputation. Now, Duolingo's reputation went out the window many years ago in the language learning space. Very few people who actually have learnt languages or know how to teach languages or anything like that realistically recommend Duolingo anymore. The people who use Duolingo, the people who just, they've decided to randomly learn a language, they look for the top language learning app that's got the most marketing, and well, that's Duolingo, and they start using it. But realistically, if you ask anyone nowadays, no one really recommends it. I wouldn't recommend it for Esperanto, because I don't know how much of the content actually comes from the original course creators, people who I know were experts at what they did, and they spent years of their life generating the content. But since then, who knows? It could be half AI, could be half the original stuff. Even if it's 5% AI, I don't trust it anymore. Because I want to learn a language correctly. And if I start learning some random bastardization of the language, it's going to be so much harder for me to go back and relearn it. Here's a crazy thing. I thought about a while ago just playing around and learning Klingon on Duolingo. Because, well, there's not much content for learning Klingon. And there was some people early on who were hardcore Klingon users who went and built content for Duolingo. I wouldn't do it now. Because, well, I don't know if they're trying to AI generate that. And if they are, I guarantee you it's not Klingon anymore, because there definitely is not enough training data for it. So basically, this was basically my rage post. Obviously, my general audience, they're aware of this. They would probably not recommend Duolingo unless in the time of exception and you have the experience to check it yourself. But I'm hoping this reaches a few people who are, new to learning languages. And I'm just saying right now, anything that uses AI to teach languages, be really, really careful around it, because I know for smaller languages, the content it generates is not legit. In fact, maybe at some point I'm gonna have to do a polyglot investigation of AI. Okay, well, I'll see you all in the next video. And if you're not there, well, you better be doing something useful with your time and not just studying AI generated languages.